Elise Pickett here with the Urban Harvest, and today we are going to learn how to start tomato and eggplant seeds. Hey, it's Elise Pickett with the Urban Harvest, and it is February here in Florida, which means I am about to do some tomato and eggplant starts for the day. So tomatoes, a lot of people think are summer crops, but here in Florida it is way too hot for them. The time to plant tomatoes and eggplants is actually January through March, or in September if you're starting from seed. So February is the perfect time to start your tomato seedlings. So what to plant when is really important here in Florida. Just like most people assume tomatoes are a summer crop, in Florida they are actually more of a winter crop. I do have a quick cheat sheet guide that tells you what to plant when for Florida. If you head to my website and subscribe to my newsletter, you will get that for free emailed to you so that you know when to plant eggplant, tomato, watermelon, radish, lettuces, herbs, all the goodies in an easy to understand format so that you can just take a quick glance, say, hey, it's February, what should I be planting right now? Skim the line and you'll know exactly what to plant for success. All right, so not too many supplies needed. Seed starting is not as difficult as it may seem. I have some trays here that I prefer to grow in. They're from garden supply stores. You can get them online as well. I'll have a link below that you can click on to find these online if you like that. And I buy them in like a 10 to 20 pack, so very cheap, very reasonably priced. I've got the seed trays. And then I went ahead and got the Coast of Maine organic seed starting mix. Great mix. It's got worm castings, kelp, coconut coir, everything you need to get your seeds started in one bag pre-mixed for you. Very straightforward and easy to use. Great germination. So I also have my Baker Creek heirloom seeds that I like to shop from if I'm not doing like seed exchange or saving my own seed. What we're going to do first is get the trays filled, and what you want to do is make sure seeds are pretty small when they get started. They're not going to have a very big root system. So if there's any like big chunks in the soil, just go ahead and kind of crumble those up so that you don't have any big lumps or clumps. Gently smooth it out, nothing precise, it doesn't have to be perfect. To get started, I just take a finger, you can use a pencil if you prefer, and you're going to be making a little furrow into the soil with your fingers, not very deep at all, at most finger depth, like the width of your finger deep, no more than that. So I just kind of go and gently create rows, probably 4 or 5 rows per tray. So if you've never planted tomatoes or eggplants from seed before, it may surprise you how small the seeds are. And just a little side tip, pro tip, in general, seed depth when you're planting from seed is going to be approximate to the size of the seed. So really tiny seeds in general are going to need to be sown closer to the surface or very, very, very shallow, whereas a big seed, say like a pea or a bean, is going to be planted deeper. So seeds bigger, plants deeper, tiny seeds, very, very shallow. So we have the very shallow furrows that we created in the tray, and you're just going to go ahead and drop your tomato seeds or eggplant seeds down the line. You don't, because of the way we're starting the seeds here, not like in the pucks or in pots pre-started. You don't have to be as particular about spacing, or a good tip on the back of seed packets, and it's very true, sometimes you plant 2 or 3 per spot, so that you get at least 1 or 2 to germinate well for you. You don't need to worry about that right now because you're going to be transplanting these into pots at a later time. So you can just kind of sprinkle them in and not worry as much about spacing and how many are where. Now that you have the seeds in the furrows, you're just going to gently pinch together the furrows down the length. If there's any crumbly parts that you missed when you were leveling the soil, just go ahead and crumble those up. You don't want them to block the seeds from sprouting up easily. You do not need to pat the soil down or anything else. I just gently pinch the soil together, and that'll do the trick. You want these to easily be able to sprout up and work their way up through the soil. Both tomato and eggplants are very thin, tiny seedlings when they first pop up, rather fragile and delicate in the seed world, so they don't need a lot of pressure like some of the other plants do to get started. So the other thing that you might want to do, I learned my lesson the hard way. I was like, oh yeah, when I plant these, I'm going to know exactly which trays are which and which plants are which. I'm a variety freak, so I never plant just one kind of tomato. I plant, 2, 3, 4, 5 different varieties. So it can kind of get hard to keep track of everything. So I now always make sure that I write down and label which trays have which plants, so that when I'm ready to transplant them into the garden, I know what I'm planting. And that just helps you figure out which plants thrive best in your area. Especially when you're working with heirlooms, you want to be able to select the plants that thrive in your yard or your city or your area. So keeping track of which varieties you're planting is really helpful. So we have the seeds in the soil, and you have 2 things to do from now on. You need to take care of light and water. So these need indirect sunlight in the beginning while they're still germinating. If you were to put them out in say where your garden is, where it's got full sun exposure, they'll dry out super quickly, and they're fairly fragile in the beginning. So keeping them in indirect sunlight still gets them germinating and growing and sprouting just fine without having the issue of the soil constantly drying out. Now, if you do choose to use the Coast of Maine organic seed blend, it does have coconut coir in there, which is great for water retention. So there is that already kind of built into the soil, but just to give you a little extra buffer, especially in the heat of Florida, you never quite know how hot it's going to get in late afternoon. Keep them in indirect sunlight. The next thing you need to concern yourself with is water. So drowning these things is not the goal here. We just want to keep them moist. So spraying them, if you have a cleaner spritzer, you can use that to gently mist the soil. Watering can just make sure it's like real small, fine holes in the nozzle. Otherwise, you can just like drown them out and they'll shift all around, and some might go too deep and then they won't germinate. So I just find like a nice light watering to be the perfect route. You're going to water every 1 to 2 days, depending on how hot it is outside, and you will quickly see that they will start germinating. We're going to have another video that shows you how to transplant them from the seed trays into the pots and eventually into the garden. So make sure to click below, hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and that will alert you every time a new video comes out so that you can follow through the process and finish learning how to get your tomato seeds and eggplant seeds into the garden.